Hi guys, it's Kelly here. Thanks so much for joining me for the monthly make along. We are going to be making this fun, very shimmery watercolor card today using the kit from September. So, hopefully you have all of your supplies together. I had to come in here a bit early and lay out all my stuff because obviously I made my card quite some time ago. Um, so we're just going to jump right in and start with the making. I'm hoping to keep it within the hour, but um, I don't want to move too fast so people get lost, but I want you to be able to complete your card. So we're going to go right into the die cutting portion. You should have the Hero Art, the watercolor paper comes in a 5.5 by 8.5 sheet. So if you just cut this in half, then it's going to leave you with these two pieces here, which are both an A2 size card front. We're going to be using both pieces to make our card today. So first one's first. We're going to take our die cut from the kit, this beautiful frame with all the little mushrooms and stuff. Like, how cute and fun and fall is this? I chose to do my card in greens, but you certainly can do them like in autumn colors, and it would be stunning. That's okay, Renee. You can just watch along. We'll just have a little bit of fun chit-chatting. You guys know that I'm a chatty girl if you watch my channel. Um, so here I'm gonna put this down on my watercolor paper, and I am going to tape it in place just because I don't want it to move when we do our die cutting. Just have a piece of low tack tape. Um, you can use, low tack washi tape, whatever it is that you have, and you just want it to be centered. Since this frame is pretty generously sized, it it's really easy to center because you're almost going to go edge to edge on our size cardstock. You're making Halloween. That's fun. Let me grab my die cutting machine here. So let's put these guys in here. You're getting a nice up close view of all my all my well loved plates. I'm gonna put this in here, put my top plate on, and then I'm really terrible about making sure everything's flush. So I always have to like remind myself to stop and do that beforehand. And then we're just gonna roll her through. This one is a little bit, for me, it's just a little bit tighter because watercolor paper is a little bit thicker, but not so much so that it's like gonna break the machine. If yours feels too tight and you're having to put too much pressure, then you might need to readjust your plates for whatever machine you're using. Snow is on the way. Tracy, don't talk to me about snow. I can't. I live in Ohio. Ugh, I don't want the snow. I know it's coming, but I don't want it. So just to check, yep, we're good to go. So we're gonna move this out of our way. Okay. Is anybody else like mourning the loss of summer? I'm totally mourning the loss of summer. I'm very sad about it. So I'm just gonna pull my die cut out here. And there's our beautiful die cut frame. So when I chose to do my card, because I knew I was going to be using the metallic sprays with water, if you want a more watercolor look, use the Hero Arts reactive inks. I didn't want my pigments to move. I wanted there to still be solid color. So that's why I chose to use the core inks, because they're not going to react with water. So whichever, you can get two different looks based on what inks that you're using in the background and doing your ink blending with. You closed the pool today? Yeah, we're here very late. Bonnie, my pool is not closed yet, and I live in Ohio. So here I'm just going to use, this is just a sticky mat. You can use tape to hold your die cuts in place if you need to, but this is just going to help hold my stencils so that I don't have to fight with them. But sometimes I do find that it's a little bit challenging to get it to stick to my watercolor paper because it has a little bit more tooth and texture, but that's okay. So now we're going to move on to our stencils. You'll see, obviously, from the last time that I used them, mine are well loved. And then we're going to just go through and do each stencil layer. So the first one, hold on, I got to catch it in the light so I can see it. There we go. There, here it says A, B, and C, so that way you know what order to do them in. And then we're just going to line these up. It's super helpful with the frame being cut out of the middle, because then I can for sure stick something down to the middle. Sometimes with my stencils, I have a hard time with them like buckling in the center, but because we're using a frame piece, it's not going to move. So here, looking at the stencil, I can see there's a bit of my acorn here. These are some stems for the mushrooms. This is the underside of the mushroom. So we're going to go in, we're going to be doing some greens, and we're going to be doing some of the mushroom stems and the little acorn. So for my little acorn, I'm going to use caramel, and I am going to use Cup of Joe. Hero Arts has a bunch of different size brushes. I find that for these ones, like, I'm going to be real with you. You guys know I'm cheap, so I'm not going to have a bunch of different brushes in different sizes, but they do offer brushes in different sizes. So I have found that these ones, the extra small and the small, are the easiest ones to use for images like this, but just make do with whatever you have. Here, like, see how close this acorn is to the stem? I'm just going to put my finger here so that I can get in here like this without getting ink where I don't want it. You could alternatively use another piece of low tack tape to mask that off. But since this is the only one that is brown, like that's the only one that I need to add any brown to, I'm just going to use my finger. And then I'm going to go in with Cup of Joe and just add a little bit of shading to the side. Not a lot, just a little, just to make them a little more interesting. If you feel like your colors aren't blending well, you can always go back in with your lighter color blending brush and just go over that. Yeah, I shouldn't say today, this weekend is the first weekend where it's actually been like truly chilly. So we were down in, I think when we went out this morning, it was 49. So that was quite chilly, even for us. So I'm just going to wipe that away just so I don't pick it up with my next color, which is going to be wet cement. And this is just, it's a really, I mean, I've owned this color even before Hero Arts redid their ink collection and did the core inks when they still had all the other ones. I owned wet cement. And so this one is just, it's a really good neutral, and I'm going to use this to add some shading to our mushrooms. For this one, I'm going to come in from the top because the cap of the mushroom is sitting on top. So the shadows would be coming this way. So I'm just going to go in and add a little bit of shading there. For the rest of the stems, I'm not going to worry about, because they're just so small, I'm not going to worry about any kind of direction. But I am going to be just very light-handed with them. Just super light-handed. So that way we're just adding a little bit of color and not getting too crazy. This one, again, I'll come in from the top. 38 at your house this morning? Oof, that is chilly. Chilly, chilly, chilly. So this one you just want to be really light-handed with. There's another detail layer for like the underside of the mushrooms where we'll add a little bit more shading. Everything else, I know you guys are going to think I'm crazy, but I roll how I roll. the leaves are actually going to be 3 different colors. So it's going to be the kiwi, the fresh lawn, and the pine. You can do any combination of greens, whatever you have, but I like to do multiple colors because it allows me to create different shades, to create dimension in what would otherwise be a flat image. So I'm going to start with my lightest color, which is the kiwi, and I'm going to go in and I'm just going to do an all over on the leaves. We're just going to fill them in. So they're all over a nice bright yellow green. I'm a sucker for yellow green. And here, right up here, I can see that I missed some little mushroom stems. So I'm just going to go back in with that wet cement super quick and just add a little bit of shading there. I missed them. It's okay. We can go back and get them. Oh no, Libby, you're excited about the 4D? I'm not excited about the 4D. I can't. I don't like it. And like the snow is only okay until the holidays pass. And then once the holidays pass, I'm like, I'm over it. But Ohio doesn't care that it's January and February and March and sometimes even April, and it just keeps giving us snow. So these ones, again, just flat color, just nice little bright pops of color. There's nothing wrong with leaving it like this, but we can get here again. I'm going to block this little mushroom with my finger, and I'm going to go in with the green. There we go. But you can get so much more dimension just with your ink blending. You know, you don't have to go. I know everybody's like, oh, you know, Copa coloring. And you guys know, I love me a good colored image. But there's no need with these kinds of stencils for the most part. So we're going in, this is the fresh lawn, and we're just going to add it about halfway to 3/4 up from the bottom of each leaf and just start to build in those shadows and that dimension. Here, where you have 2 that are connected, there isn't necessarily a way to add it to this one without getting it on this one. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. It's going to be fine. Oh, you guys are living in some hot weathers. I'm going to come visit you. 80s, 94. 94 is a little warm, but I would take 94 over 48 any day. All right. '70s and sunny. '70s and sunny isn't bad. I would take '70s and sunny. All right. So now we're going with the pine, and the pine is really just going to be the kind of the bottom quarter of your leaves. This one we don't need very much of because it is such a dark saturated color. We don't need too much to be able to create that shadow that we're looking for. And again, like you can see on some of these, I'm getting a little bit of green on them. It's not a big deal. We're not really going to notice at the end of the day. So that is that for the first stencil. So we're going to go ahead and take that off, and we'll get to see our beautiful handiwork here. And then we're going to go in with the next stencil. This is the B stencil. Just line this up nice and easy. Just trying to get my bottom corner here. There we go. You just weeded your front yard. God bless you. I let my husband do all the outdoor work because I don't know. God didn't make me for the outdoors, honestly. He made me to be an indoor hermit, creative type, not so much the outdoors type. So here is these two, you can see these little layers for the mushroom caps. So we're going to go back in with that wet cement. We're just going to go just a little bit heavier. You can only take off so much before you offend some. You know what? You sound just like my husband, Tracy. He says that all the time because he always runs cooler than or warmer than I do. And he's like, I can only, remove so many layers. And I'm like, but you can turn on a fan. Like, you're going to be fine. So then once we have those are the only two that we need the wet cement for. We have this pretty little pine cone over here. And we're going to do the same, the caramel and the cup of joe. It is it is chilly, but honestly, it is still sunny, and we have a little party to go to after I'm done here. My sister's actually gonna come over and hang out with my kiddos, and then I'm gonna get this little cap here as well with the caramel. So pine cone caramel, acorn caramel, um, and it's like an outdoor party, so it will be a little bit chilly, but at least it's not raining. Raining is the worst. No. Oh, Libby, the lowest. Oh, and hotel air conditionings are the worst because they just blow right on that one bed, and it's always my bed. You like my robe, buddy? It's a beautiful robe, isn't it? I just told you my husband runs hotter than me, which means my house is like 69 degrees. It's a real bummer for me. Okay, so here we're going to go in with the cup of joe. We're going to add some shading from the top because we want to leave this little lip lighter to separate the cap from the body of the acorn. So I do want it to have some shading, but I do need to leave that edge just a smidge lighter. For the pine cone, I'm going to go in and I'm going to add shading kind of to like the left and right hand sides. So it has that's the bed you want. That is not the bed I want. That's the worst bed. So I'm going to add shading to the left and right hand sides of my little pine cone. And that's going to give it like a little bit of a center highlight. I'm also going to come down here and get this little, what are we calling that? Stem? It's probably a stem on a pine cone, right? I mean, they grow on trees. So if for some reason you're unhappy with your blending, just go back in with your lightest color and knock that out. Just go right over top of it. Here, how close these are, I don't want to get this brown into my leaves, so I'm just going to take my little rag here. I'm being very careful, and I'm just going to wipe that up so that I don't transfer that brown to my green. It doesn't have to be perfect. No, I mean, in no way does it have to be perfect. And then everything else on here is leaves, and we're going to do the same thing that we just did before. Same color leaves, starting with our kiwi. And you'll notice here, some of these are actually the detail layer for the leaves. So you can go over those with the kiwi, but ultimately we're going to end up going over those with our darker colors so you can see the veins. And once again, it's not going to be perfection, but it doesn't need to be because there's so much more we're going to be doing. I got to get them shimmers in there. Some people are not shimmery people, and that's okay. I am all about the shimmers. Okay. I would like to know because I'm getting geared up to make autumn cards. What is your favorite autumn color combination? Tell me what it is. Tell me your secrets. And now second layer, about half to three-quarters of the way up is the fresh lawn. And for the fresh lawn, we are going to go right. Well, I mean, I was honestly with the kiwi too. you want to make sure that you're adding that shading to the pieces that have the detail as well. Teal, mustard, and burgundy. That's pretty. Thank you, Sandra. That's very kind of you to say. Purples and browns with some light oranges. Okay, I have not tried that before, Renee. Cranberry and purple. That sounds pretty. I do. Here's the thing. I love bright colors. Oh my gosh, yeah, the Adirondack cardstock is one of my favorite. It's actually, I have some sitting right here. If anybody doesn't know, this is the color she's talking about, and it is stunning. It's one of my most used, that and the nautical cardstock. I think I was on the Hero Arts team for like 2 months, and I was like, but could I have some more navy, please? Because it is hands down one of my favorite. Ooh, a rust. I do love a rust holly. That's so pretty, especially a rust with that Adirondack cardstock, a rust with a teal. Beautiful. Get down in here and add some shading. Yeah, so I love bright colors. That's no secret. But I love drama in my cards, and nothing brings the drama like a jewel tone. And then last, we're going to go in with the pine. This is where we're for sure going to concentrate on those detail layers. And then we're just going to add it to the bottom quarter of each of our leaves. Dark pink for Christmas cards. That sounds beautiful. What did I say? Libby, what did I say? Pink, orange, and mustard. Butter bar, pale tomato, and cranberry. Oh, that's pretty. I think pale tomato is one of those colors that's like super underrated. It's a beautiful color. And it's, again, it's one of the ones that I owned for years before they switched out their inks. The darker color always goes faster because there isn't as much to add. All right, so this one is done. And now we're on to stencil C. This has got some fuzzies in it from the last time I cleaned it. I must have cleaned it with a baby wipe, which honestly is not really a good job. Like, that was a poor job, Kelly. All right, so put this back down. This is going to give us a lot of details in our leaves, as well as the mushroom tops and the detail in our acorns. So I'm not going to do the detail in the acorn or the pine cone because we're going to use something else for that. I am going to put in the color and the detail layers for the leaves. So I think we're going to start with the pinks, which for this one, we're just using two. Oh, I did say Adirondack. So you knew what I meant. Like a chair that you keep in your deck. You know what I'm saying. Um, so I'm going to use the azalea and the raspberry jam for my mushroom tops. This is something that's just a little bit different. You could use like cherry and cranberry for a more traditional red, but I liked the pink because pink is yellow green's natural complement on the color wheel. So they look really nice together. Plus, I desperately wanted to use the fuchsia and gold two-tone metallic spray. So that did sway my color selection. So we're going to go in with the azalea first. Which one's which here? They look identical. I think this is the raspberry jam. All right. There we go. And for the lightest color, we're just going to fill the whole thing in. You could make this as dark or as light as you like it, whatever makes you happy. This one is a bit bigger for me, so it's a little bit harder to control, but it's okay because we're going to go over that with some greens, these leaves with some greens, so there's still time to salvage it. To get into here, I'm just going to kind of like tip it up because I have a bigger brush and just kind of sweep it back and forth until I get the color that I'm happy with. And this area is a lot of mushrooms, so it's a little bit easier to use the bigger brushes. But like I said, I'm a cheap chicken. I don't have a brush size for every color, so it is what it is. Which set is this? This is the September My Monthly Hero kit. Oh, those are leaves, Kelly. Slow your roll. All right. So now I'm going to go in with my darker color. And again, we're going to come in from the top to leave that lighter edge on the bottom. Raspberry jam is one of my all-time favorite colors. I'm not even going to try to deny it. It's like the best pink. So again, there's a little bit of, I'm just going to try to get in there and just sweep it across. If you get a little heavy-handed, don't worry about it. Okay. All right. So normally I don't clean my stencils in between, but I am going to just take this off and clean it real quick because I'm just going to wipe it off. Because pink is green's natural complement, if I pick up any of that pink into my green, it's going to turn to brown. And I don't want my leaves to be brown. It's fall, but I'm not trying to kill my leaves. You know what I'm saying? All right. So once that's just kind of dried off, I'm going to put that back into place. And then now I'll be able to go in and add my greens without fear that I will make them dead leaves. And who wants to tell me what we're going to do next? We're just going to do the same thing that we've done twice before. We're going to go we're going to go in with the kiwi and then the fresh one and then the pine. Because nothing's changed here. Our green combination is still the same. So if you do not have the hero wax, or you could even use the gold hero paste, that would work as well. But if you don't have either one of those and you just want to add the detail layers, use your darkest color. So like for the pine or the fresh lawn, for here I would use the cup of joe. You could use either one of those to just put in those little detail layers. But because I have I have them both, but because I have the hero wax, I'm going to use that to add some gold shimmer. We're not going to do that next though. Don't jump the gun. We got to do another step in between. But if you weren't adding that, or you're like, I don't like pastes, I don't like whatever, then you can just put in your details with the with the inks, and it will still be beautiful. Not as shimmery, but still pretty. So we're on to the pine now. Just adding those in to just a couple little extra leaves. Here, I am going to go over this just a smidge to hide up some of that pink. Okay. And once again, we're going to take this off. And now all of our coloring is done for now. I am going to wipe this off and just set it aside so that we can go on to our next step, which is the watercolor. All right, so now, if you're not familiar, we're going to talk about these real quick. If you're not familiar with the metallic sprays, they come with no liquid in them. So it's just a powder in there. I don't know if you can see down in there. You can add the water to create the intensity that you want. We're not going to do that today. We're just going to use them as a powder. So for this one, I don't need the black. I don't need the blue. All the other ones need piles. I literally, when I was typing the instructions, I was like, what do I call them? Puddles? Piles? It's not puddles when it's powder. It's puddles after. So it was interesting trying to come up with how to word that. So I'm just going to take that. I'm going to use my plastic tubing. It's kind of like a scoop. And then I am going to just put some down on whatever non-porous surface you have. You don't need a lot. A little will go a long way. And I'm doing that with the fuchsia, the spring green, the orange, and the green. You guys, if you have not seen these before, you're going to be like, holy sparkles, Batman. And it's fantastic. It's the best. And there's the green. And then we just need a little bit of orange because it's just for the two. So just a little teeny tiny bit. A little more than that, Kelly. There we go. So now I just have a number 2 round brush. You can use whatever paintbrush that you have. And we're just going to add some water to each one of our little piles. Not too much water. And then we're just going to paint these on. So I'm going to do the orange first. You can see once you mix it up how beautiful it is. And then you're just going to paint it on. I'm going to do just the cap and then the side of my little acorn. I'm going to go in with my pine cone and I'm just going to do some little swipes right over the embossing that's already here. I'm going to pick this up so that you can see. You can't, yes, if you've already added water, you can just paint with the liquids. Absolutely, Sandra. So you can see there's the little shimmer here. And then we're just going to move on to the next. I'm going to do the fuchsia next. You see this beautiful gold that's in, oh my gosh, this color makes me so happy. Look how beautiful that is. I could just paint all day long with it. So what I'm going to do for the mushrooms is see how these lines are already cut in or embossed in. I'm just going to follow the lines, and where there are no lines, like these smaller ones, I'm just going to create those lines. So I'm just going to come down in kind of like a rounded, just following the shape of the mushroom. And this is going to add shimmer and a little bit of shading. That's why I said, like, don't fret about whether or not, if you get green on your mushroom, like adding in the extra things is going to distract away from that. We're just going to paint those in. This part goes so fast. And then when that dries, it has a beautiful, the fuchsia has a beautiful gold shimmer. Just going with the shape of the mushroom. And you can add as much or as little as you like. You can see some of these are starting to dry and they have that little gold on them. Love, love, love. So then I'm sure you can figure out these next two greens are for the leaves. There isn't a right or a wrong way to do it, and there is no rhyme or reason. Oh, thanks, Holly. There is no rhyme or reason for how I applied them. I didn't apply it to every leaf, even though honestly I kind of wanted to. Um, just pick random leaves. So like if you have a leaf like here, like this one, the shading has a bit of pink in it. I'm going to use my darker green to go over that to kind of like cover my boo-boo. Same thing over here. This leaf got very, very pink. So I'm just going to go in and paint that. This one, you don't have to do the whole thing. You can just maybe go over the detail portions. And the green is a tone on tone. So it's just a green plus a shimmer, where the spring green is a green plus gold. So this one right here is, see how it's tucked behind? So I'm going to add my darker green shading to that. I love these so much. They're so pretty. But really, just going in, picking different leaves, trying to have a good representation of both greens. And I'm one of those people that like the first one I go in with is usually the one that you end up seeing the most of because I have no self-control. But I try to be conscientious of it. I don't always win. So once we're done with that, I'm gonna rinse this off. And then we're gonna go, this spring green is honestly one of my favorites. It's right up there with the fuchsia. It's got that gold in it, y'all. So this one, we're gonna just go in, paint it, and because we chose to use the core inks, none of the colors underneath are moving. If you want the colors underneath to move, you want to use the reactive inks. Those are reactive with water. Love, love, love these. I have so many more ideas for how to use them. This was honestly, when I made this card, this was the first time I used the metallic inks, but I assure you, it will not be the last. I am using the sprays as watercolor. Yes, I am. Just some down. So now this part is totally optional. Like you can see, we're very shimmery. Let me just tilt you around in the light. So we're very shimmery. We've got some golds. We've got some tone on tone shimmers. I like a little spatter. And you can see here on this card originally how, like, we got this fine mist spatter. I am going to recreate that on my card, but you do not have to. If you are not a fan, then just skip that part. So I'm just going to pick up a little of each color and I'm going to let it go where it may. Yes, it means it's spattering over my mushrooms and my pine cones and everything else. That doesn't bother me. If it bothers you, just skip it. But using a smaller brush is going to give you a finer mist. Using a bigger brush will give you bigger droplets. I personally like the finer mist. This green and gold, so pretty. And even though we only have very little of the orange, I'm going to use that too. I'm going to use it all. No shame in my shimmer game. All right. So now that that is done, we're going to set this aside to dry. And we're going to bring in this piece of paper. So you're going to need some clean water. Do I have another, y'all, do I have a clean cup? Did I come to this party with one clean cup? Possibly. But fortunately, I have some baby wipes here, so I'll just clean me another cup. And for this one, this background, oh no, I hope your puppy feels better. It's the worst when puppies are sick. The absolute worst. My dog's she got kennel cough, and she's just has not fully recovered, and it's been since July. It's we still got her sleeping in bed with us with a humidifier. All right, so we're gonna get some clean water. You can keep your dirty waters. So I'm just gonna go in. Just gonna grab another clean paintbrush. This one is a bit bigger. And then I'm just gonna lay water down on the background. If you have a spray bottle, also just find a way to get some water on the background. We just want enough for our pigment to move, but not so that it shouldn't be bubbled up. You should just be able to see a shine on it. Let me tilt it so you can see what I mean. So like I have no water running all over the place. There's just a nice sheen on it. And so now we're going to grab our black shimmer. And we're going to do this just a little bit different. Hi, Mary. Welcome to the party. So for this one, I'm just going to pick it up and I'm just going to tap it. We want to leave our darker colors toward the bottom. This is the black. And then I'm going to add in the ocean blue and gold. Maybe a little bit more. There we go. This one's so pretty. I'm going over the black and then just slightly above it. And then we're going to go back and grab that green. And we're going to do the same thing over the black, through the blue, and then just slightly above it. Oh, that was a lot of green. It's all right. We're going to roll with it. And then at the tippy top, we're going to do our spring green. And I'm just going to bring that down. So now you can just take your paintbrush, whichever one, and you want a wet paintbrush. And then you can just tap your background until it moves around to a place that you are happy with it. So you can leave it more spotty or less spotty. Alternatively, here, I'll show you another way you can do it. You can just take a water bottle and spray it to get that pigment flowing. Again, there isn't a right or a wrong way to do it. We're just trying to create a pretty watercolor background. And now I'm just going to take our piece that we made and I'm going to hold it over so I can see what will show. see if I'm happy with that. I think I want a little bit more of the spring green to show through. So I'm going to just add some more of that down here. I'm going to take my brush into my dirty water and rinse it off. Pick up some more clean water, and I'm going to come down this way. If there's any areas that I don't like, you can always take a baby wipe or a paper towel and just kind of blot, and that's going to make them softer. I do like a little bit of a softer look for the background. Excuse me. So now you can use either the powders again, because they do look, they do look different. You can sprinkle on, this is the black, to add some more color in there. Or you can use what you have left over here. They're good. They're each going to give you a different look. I'm going to do both. So I'm going to pick up some of these colors, this spring green, and get some more of that gold down here. Rinse that off. I know this seems crazy to add the fuchsia in there, but I promise you, it's going to be so pretty. And since we're doing this while it's wet, it'll give it an opportunity to kind of move out and bloom. If you have spots that you feel like are too stark, just go in there and touch them with a little bit of water. Not a lot. We don't want to mix them. We still want the spots, but it will soften them and help them to kind of bleed out a bit so that we can get something that's a little bit more organic, a little bit of a softer look. Look at how pretty those blues are. Blue is my boyfriend. Alternatively, you can use just clean water and flick some of that in there, which will help the colors to kind of like bloom and move and give you more texture in your background. So once you're happy with the way that your background looks, and I'm just going to double check this again, if I'm happy with this. I think I am. Because remember, everything in watercolor dries back softer. So I think I am happy with that. So I'm going to set this aside to dry. I am going to move our little watercolor station out of the way, clean up my watercolors. You totally could, by the way, if you're a person like me who doesn't like to waste anything, if you had a spare piece of watercolor paper, spray these, smush your paper down in them, and then just make a background that you use for a different card on a different day. You do you. I won't judge you. I am just going to clean mine up because this is not just, unfortunately, this is not just my own craft session. We gotta keep moving so everybody has a card at the end of the day. You know what I'm saying? All right. So now we're going to go back to this piece here. You're probably going to want to tape your stencil down, or if you have a sticky mat, use that. And we're going to go back to that last stencil that we used that had all this detail layer. So this C stencil. And we're going to lay this in place, line it up. Okay. And Now we're going to get that hero wax out. So this, if you're not familiar, I have used this on so many projects. A little bit goes a long way. You don't need a ton. You can apply this because I know not everybody likes to get their hands dirty. My daughter, for one, she'll be like, mommy hands, and then she wants to wipe them on me like I want to be dirty. But sacrifices you make for your children. So you can use your palette knife or you can use your fingers. I am just going to use my fingers because I feel like that's what works better for me. So I'm just going to pick up a little bit, just a little teeny tiny bit, and I'm going to smush it right through those detail layers. I'm not going to do, you can, like these ones, how they're full leaves, you can do like little dots or dabs in there. There's, like I said, not a right or a wrong way. It's just going to add some shine and some texture to what we have. But I'm really going to concentrate on the areas that are specifically the detail layers. And just kind of rub those in. Sometimes you need to go like back and forth or in a different direction in order to be able to get them really in there. This stuff's dries so fast. Like this over here already is pretty much already dry. So just FYI on that. That's why we save it for kind of the last step, because it's going to be the fastest drying one. It will dry faster than your watercolor will. I'm also going to use it on my pine cone and just add the detail layers with my finger. You can get the stem or not, whatever works for you. I'm going to get this one down here. I did not like, it's so funny when I started with the hero team, I was like, oof, I'm not really a mixed media person. I might struggle to use some of this stuff. But turns out, if it's a clean mixed media, like if it's a clean look, I totally am a mixed media person. Who knew? All right, so that's all of that. Took us just a minute. And this wax does, just for your information, it does come in other colors. Here, and see, this is just a baby wipe. I'm just cleaning my finger off with just a baby wipe. It comes right off. And then I'm going to, because you don't want to let this just dry. Same thing with like the pastes. So I'm going to remove this so you can see we have all that beautiful gold now details on our egg cord, on our pine cone, on our leaves. Super, super pretty. I know, Libby, you did tell me so. You did tell me so. And I did not believe you. But I am just going to go in. This is just a microfiber cloth that I keep in my room to clean up. And I'm just going to go in and just buff this off so that I will be able to use my stencils with no issue in the future. But you can see, it just, I mean, it cleans up relatively easy. Once I'm done, like with the live, I will just go into the sink and wash it with some soap and water. Sometimes I do go in with like an old toothbrush, just to kind of scrub in like this pine cone area. But for the most part, like even just here with the rag, like this is pretty well cleaned up. It does clean up easier than the pastes. So now we're done with that. While the rest of our items are drying, we're going to work on heat embossing our sentiments. So I'm just going to grab my Misty. I told you guys I was cheap, so don't judge me. This is obviously one I've cut several sentiments out of beforehand. So I'm going to put this in. You can do any of these. These are all really beautiful sentiments that are included in the kit. Love all of these. I chose to go with just the Hello Friend for our original card because I just feel like it's a really good, just like neutral. I would be able to send this card anytime in autumn for any reason and write my personal note inside and nobody would know the difference. So I am actually going to What am I going to do? I think I'm going to do the Thankful for You this time around, but any of these will work. So I'm just going to, since I'm going to trim them into labels, I'm going to line them up in the corner. Just bring this guy down. Make sure that this is straight so that I can cut in between the two. Pick this up. And then I am going to turn on my heat tool now so that it's heating up so that it minimizes the amount of warping that will happen to my cardstock. So I'm going to heat or treat with my anti-static tool. You use whatever anti-static tool you have. And then I am going to ink up with some embossing ink. And I find I get a much better result if I ink well and I stamp once lightly and then I ink it up again and stamp a second time. If you don't have a stamp positioner and you're just stamping with an acrylic block, like just make sure that you're getting good pressure and that your sentiment is fully inked with your embossing powder, with your embossing ink. What am I saying? So, oh, do you see this? Can you see all the shimmer on my paper? I gotta flip it over. I used their Hero Art. I used in Hero Art iridescent embossing powders for a video just last week, or no, at the beginning of this week, and that must be the side of the paper that I used. So this is just our gold embossing ink. Just gonna sprinkle that on. But if you have not seen the embossing or the iridescent embossing powders, holy smokes, guys! If you are a shimmer lover, like that's where it's at. I'll see if I actually did it using the October kit, so I'll see if I can find those cards to show you. So we're just heat setting this until it's nice and shiny. And then we're going to, oh, I'm knocking stuff off my desk. Did you hear it? Yeah, do I have it? I stamped them. I did, Lydia. I stamped them all out earlier this week so that I could show them in my video. But the gold, so like this gold is the, we're just going to trim these into labels, just wherever makes sense. There's no size. Stamp them out so that I could see, but the gold is, it's much like more of a yellow gold than like an antique gold. And I love it. It's stunning. I'll have to see if I can grab those cards if we have time for that. So then this, you can either do this with your paper trimmer or you can just cut it with your scissors. I'm not very good at cutting straight, so I'm going to use my paper trimmer. Make sure that's flush up against there. And there we go. Now we got two pieces. The reason that we're cutting it into two pieces, hi Michelle, how are you? Michelle is she's on the international team and she's been a friend of mine for years and she's just endlessly talented and I love her. Let me see real quick. Here. These are the okay, we're taking Libby, don't get mad at me. We're taking a sidetrack. So these are the cards. They're actually like little shadow box cards that I made. But this is the iridescent embossing powder. This is the purple down here, if you can see that. And this is the blue. Stop it. So they're beautiful. If you are not familiar with them, go check them out. Because they're stunning. This is part of these are all add-ons except for the sentiments. This is part of the kit for October. So yeah, beautiful. The embossing powders are stunning. So anywho, back to business at hand. You guys are trying to sidetrack me with beautiful things. So my background is just a smidge dry or wet still. So I'm just going to hit it with a heat tool so that we can start to build this and put this whole thing together. Just want to be sure we're sure this is dry before we start building. Okay, I'm pretty sure. And can you just see how beautiful and shimmery that is? It's got some gold, it's got some regular shimmers. Beautiful, beautiful. Okay, so yeah, if you complete side note, if you're interested in seeing how those shadow boxes are made or how the iridescent embossing powders work, there is a video on my personal channel. So now I chose to pop mine up so that we could get that beautiful shadow effect. And that is what I am going to do this time as well. I'm just going to flip this over and put some foam adhesive. If I can find my foam adhesive. Don't you know when you are making something, that is when all of your items run away? Like when it's super important for you to have your items, that's when all of your items are like, bye. I don't need you. I don't need to be stick around for this. Is this it? Nope. That ain't it either. Okay, well, top dots it is, y'all. Because that's the only foam tape that I can see at the moment. We have been for oh, Michelle, that's so funny. So a lot of people probably don't know this. A blog named Hero was actually my very first design team, and I was on that design team with Michelle. It was my very first one ever. And that was back in 2013 because that's when my son was born. Crazy. Crazy to think that I've been doing this that long. So normally I cut oh, well, Hero Arts was my first love. That's 110% true. Hero Arts was like, if you're a person who makes cards and you have had any desire whatsoever to get on like design teams and things like that, then you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. Hero Arts was like goals for me. Like that was the team that I wanted to be on. So like when I tell you guys like that I'm super excited to be here and be able to make with you and stuff, that's not lip service. Like this is literally, there's a saying out there that says, remember at one time in your life you prayed for this. That is 100% true. Wow, I'm kind of getting a little, I don't mean to get so deep, but that's the truth. This was working for Hero Arts was on my list of goals, and here I am. Very, very blessed. So, okay. I think that's enough pop daddies. I'm gonna get this one. This is so many pop dots, you guys. This is so many pop dots. Oh. Oh, 100% Michelle. It was absolutely a bunch of fangirls. It was absolutely a bunch of fangirls. Okay. So now you can see that I have a little bit of warping here on my watercolor cardstock, like from the heat tool. I'm just going to kind of roll this to get it to flatten out. Alternatively, you could run it through your die cutting machine to flatten it out. but just sometimes rolling it is good enough. So now let's remove all our little tabbies. We're going to be here for days. But like normally I would never use this many dots. Never, never. I use dots for things that I only need a little bit of, but we are live and I cannot find my roll of foam tape. So because I did not prepare beforehand, I am having to, this is my penance, using all my pop dots. We're almost there though. All right, last one. Okay, so when I'm lining up my card, I actually like to do it horizontal instead of vertical because it allows me to see more corners, this corner, this corner, and this corner. And so I pick the bottom left corner, I make sure my bottom right is lined up, and then hit the top right. And then by that point, if the left ain't lined up, y'all, it ain't gonna be. And so there we have it. We have this, like, I think, like, I guess how I described it was it's almost like a entryway into like a whole magical world, like a little magical mushroom portal. Not like magic mushrooms, though. That's not what I'm talking about. All right. So now we are going to add these in as well with some foam tape. This literally, this literally is foam tape I have stuck to my desk, and that's what we're going to use because I don't have my regular foam tape. So this is what we're rolling with, y'all. We're using the leftovers off my desk. I ain't got no, there's no shame here. All right. So there's that. And that should give me enough left over for this. Yes. Okay. So now I'm going to remove this. Where's my tweezers? So I'm going to stack this kind of in the center. I'm not going to push this down. I'm just going to set it there for right now to make sure that I'm going to be happy with its placement. So this little for you kind of tucks into these mushrooms. This is going to fill up a large portion of the front. I'm going to check to make sure we're even. We are not, so it's a good thing I'm checking. There we go. And now we can push them down. And then I'm just going to add in some gems. You can use whatever gems you want. I am going to use these. They're kind of like little rainbowy ones. I'm just going to dump some in the lid. I'm going to grab my precision glue. And this is just going to add to that like fairy forest feel that we have going on here. So I'm going to put one here and here and here. Like to work in odd numbers with my gems. Oh, flipped it on its head. There we go. We're almost done, guys. Can you even believe it? You know, you know what? I was not. Oh, I'm dripping glue. Do you guys see this? I'm just dripping it all over the place. All right. Let's try this again. I was not a master of the tweezers either. And then I'm going to actually use my gemstones to help fill in some of this area. So I'm going to do 3 here, and then I'm going to do 1 there, 1 there, and 1 up here. And that'll give me a total of 9, which is obviously an odd number. So we're just going to put the, oh, if it'll stay. I should have given it more time to dry. and then a bit of a smaller one. And then we'll use some smaller ones up here. There we go. And that just fills in the framed area really nicely. So that way it doesn't look so just open and empty. So just adding those little gems is very helpful. And then that's it. So here's our original card. Here is the one we made today. Obviously, they don't look the same because you have that, that background that kind of changes with the metallic sprays. But I think they're both super pretty. I really like both of them. I hope that you guys learned something, that you're excited to use your kit. I'm super excited to see what you made. And just thank you so much for spending your Sunday with me. I know your time is precious and I appreciate it. And of course, thank you to Libby and Hero Arts for having me. So I will catch you guys on the next one.